Hello everyone, welcome to our online video channel. In previous session, I already discussed on rotation of the stomach, and today I am going to start the positional and alteration or the alteration and positional changes of the dorsal mesogastrium and the ventral mesentery in relation to the rotation of the stomach. We know that the stomach is suspended from the dorsal body wall by the dorsal mesogastrium and from the anterior body wall by the ventral mesentery. And spleen and dorsal pancreatic bud, it appears within the dorsal mesogastrium, and the liver bud appears within the ventral mesentery. With the rotation of the stomach along the longitudinal axis, the dorsal mesogastrium, it also shift to the left side and the ventral mesentery also shift to the right side. Like this is the posterior wall of the stomach and it is the anterior wall of the stomach. Like this is the dorsal mesogastrium and it is the ventral mesentery. When the stomach rotates 90-degree clockwise as like that, this dorsal mesogastrium also shift to the left side and the ventral mesentery also shift to the right side. Now, it is the dorsal mesogastrium and this is the ventral mesentery. So, this shift of the dorsal mesogastrium towards the left side, it assumes the position of the spleen. Now, the spleen in adult life, it shift or it present in the left upper quadrant of the abdominal cavity. And the portion between the spleen and the dorsal midline, this dorsal mesogastrium between the spleen and the dorsal midline, it also swings to the left side. When this dorsal mesogastrium between the spleen and the dorsal body wall, it swings to the left side, then the posterior layer of the dorsal mesogastrium fused with the parietal peritoneum covering the body wall and become degenerate. It also assumes the final position of the pancreas. Initially, this pancreas is intraperitoneal organ and later only the tail of the pancreas on its anterior surface is covered by the peritoneum and it becomes the secondarily retroperitoneal organ. Like this is the dorsal mesogastrium between the spleen and the dorsal midline, it swings to the left side and there is the body wall, dorsal body wall, which also covered by the parietal peritoneum. Now, this parietal peritoneum and the posterior leaf of the dorsal mesogastrium, they become fused and degenerated. And when they degenerate, this is the pancreas, which now initially lies within the dorsal mesogastrium. Now, it assumes its final position and it lies against the dorsal body wall, and only the tail of the pancreas now is covered by the dorsal mesogastrium, and this portion of the dorsal mesogastrium now between the spleen and the pancreas, tail of the pancreas becomes a ligament, and this ligament is known as Linorenal Ligament, and the portion between the stomach and the spleen, it becomes it also forms a ligament which is known as Gastrosplenic Ligament. And when the stomach rotates the anterior posterior axis, it also here the dorsal mesogastrium, here is the dorsal mesogastrium from the stomach, it actually hangs down and form a double layer sac extending over the intestinal loop and the transverse colon, and this double layer, it's like an apron. This double layer sac, it like an apron and form the greater omentum, and this double layer, it now becomes fused and they form a single sheet. It becomes a single sheet it becomes a single, it's double layer fused together and forms a single sheet, that is the greater omentum, and the posterior layer of this is the anterior layer of the greater omentum and it is the posterior layer of the greater omentum. This posterior layer of the greater omentum actually fused with the mesentery surrounding the transverse colon, and the portion of the dorsal mesogastrium which actually connect the stomach to the spleen, it is the gastrosplenic ligament, and the portion between the dorsal mesogastrium between the spleen and the dorsal midline, they forms a linorenal ligament. And what changes occur in the ventral mesentery? Ventral mesentery, the portion between the stomach and the liver, it becomes the lesser omentum, like here is the liver, there is the liver. So, this is become the lesser omentum which connect the lesser curvature of the, this is the lesser omentum. So, it is the ventral mesentery. So, this forms the lesser omentum which connect the stomach and proximal 2.5 centimeter of the first part of duodenum to the liver, and the lower margin of the lesser omentum, it forms a ligament which connect the liver to the first part of the duodenum, and this ligament is called the hepato duodenal ligament, which transmit three important structures. They are the bile duct, portal vein and hepatic artery. And this lower free margin of the lesser omentum also it forms foramen. It forms a foramen that is called the epiploic foramen or foramen of Winslow, which actually communicate the greater sac with the lesser sac. And the now this dorsal mesentery which actually covers the liver, they forms the some false ligament of the liver like right and left triangular ligament and coronary ligament, and the dorsal mesentery which connect the anterior surface of the liver to the anterior body wall, and this is becomes the falciform ligament. It forms a ligament, and this ligament is called the falciform ligament. In intrauterine life, this falciform ligament actually transmit left umbilical vein. In later or after birth, this left umbilical vein is become fibrous, or there is a fibrotic changes within the left umbilical vein and it becomes ligament. That ligament is called the teres hepatis or round ligament of the liver. So, in adult life, this falciform ligament actually contains ligamentum teres hepatis. That is all about the position and the alteration of the dorsal mesogastrium and the ventral mesentery in relation to the rotation of the stomach. Thank you again.